up, guys? Welcome back to the Leaders in Construction podcast. I am your host, Daniel Paterson, and today I've got a really cool guest for you. So we're talking to a gentleman by the name of Mike Harvey. He's the founder of Roof Resources. And Mike started the company back in 2020 with the idea of making roof buying simple, transparent, and affordable, something homeowners have struggled with for decades. His model cuts out a lot of the usual sales overheads and promises up to 50% savings compared to traditional roofers. So today we'll dig into how Mike built this, what's working, where the challenges are, and what's next for the roofing industry. So Mike, thanks for being here.
Daniel, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
You're very welcome, mate. So Mike, for the people who haven't met you yet, what's the roof resource in your own words?
So the roof resource just brings transparency and simplicity to homeowners when they want to get a roof. It removes all the confusion and stress and anxiety that homeowners go through, and we just make it simple.
Easy, simple, cheaper. Who can argue with that? So quick question on that though, but when did you first realize that the way people are doing this is either doesn't make sense or, as you said earlier before we started this, but ripping people off?
I actually, a friend this weekend, I like to have a cigar every once in a while, and we're driving, and he's asking me like just the crazy expense of roofing, and I said that it does come down to one word, and it's 5 letters, and it's greed. And I was in that industry for 9 months, and I learned, hey, when all these leftover materials are still here at the end that the customer paid for, I'm like, we need to return this and give the money back to the customer. And my partner said, no, we keep it. And I'm like, what do you mean? He said, we keep it. It's our profit. And I'm like, okay, registered immediately was my first customer. I'm like, okay, that's not right. Like, this is industry standard. And then started to learn over the next course of these, 9 months with him that what you do and how comfortable or uncomfortable it made me feel. At a point where I had my Jerry Maguire moment. And I went in, sold these younger, I would say late 30s. They had 2 kids. They were both teachers, $15,000 roof. I could put that roof on for $6,200, but they were going in their 401k and pulling out 14 grand. And we pocketed the rest of the money. It's just sheer profit.
Yeah.
And 2 days after that, or the next day after that, Daniel, I was installing my grandmother and my brother, and I gave them my price. And it was that moment where I stood out in that driveway and I looked at her home and I just said it. And I looked down the street and all these homes that need it, but obviously everyone's in fear of the crazy expense of a roof. And I said, it'd be really cool. Wouldn't it be cool if I could do this for a complete stranger? And 2 days later, I left the partnership. And then it took 4 months just to model out 98, the roof resource. And I've always told people, I'm like, hey, if you could wave a magic wand, what would you do? And this is the magic wand, which is the roof resource.
Funny you say that. I use that exact same line every single podcast, but I agree with you. So you started the new journey more integrity reasons and sort of leave a little bit more of a legacy rather than, I guess like everyone else, just chasing profits and screwing people, which is super admirable. But what drove you to that? Is it just the fact that you couldn't sit back and watch families struggling that need to get their roof done that are pulling money out of their 401k or 401k, or is it what's the driving force behind it? Was it exactly that?
That was that moment of, how much is enough?
Yeah.
Right? How much is enough? I didn't like that. Hey, this guy, we made 8 grand on. This person over here, we made 15,000 on.
Yeah.
This person over here, we made 21,000. This person didn't have any, and then I'm like, I need to go lay my head on the pillow at night and, pray and be like, I'm okay with that. And there's a whole entire industry that just propagates itself. And one person goes and works for a roofer and then he learns how to do it. And then he spins off and gets a license, or maybe not. In multiple states, you don't even require a license. And he takes 4 or 5 guys and says, I'm going to go get into roofing. And then you just have this constant, drive of new people coming into the industry, and everyone's doing it the same way. And that's the reason why today the homeowners, for their own protection, the only thing they can do when they don't know us is I got to get 3 to 5 quotes, go through 3 to 5 quotes. I go through 6 to 10 hours of my life. I got confusion, choose GIF shingle, choose the Owens Corning, choose Atlas, choose this roof. There's motivations behind that for the roofer. Prices, it's the same structure, it's the same house. Prices are all over the board. And then they're set with, who do I choose at this point? What's really fair? Are they going to do a good job? And I got to go check the license. I got to go check their insurance. I have to make sure they have workers' comp. What's their quality of workmanship? You got all of that stuff. And it's just an industry that continues to do the same thing. And so trust me, Daniel, I did not sign up to go conquer the
It seems
US,
like you're doing it.
but it was like, all it was like, hey, when my customers were coming back to me and saying, this was amazing, this is great. Like, I don't know how you're doing it. Because most of the time, Daniel would be like, how can you be $7,000 less than this guy? How are they doing it? How can you do it? This sounds too good to be true. But customers started calling me back and saying, what are you going to do? And I was like, wow, if they don't do something, the people in Ohio will always pay the traditional price, or they'll choose chuck in a truck and maybe not get good quality, and all the other variables come up, or the same thing in Texas or Idaho or Montana. And that's where it was like, well, Mike, it's on your shoulders now. Like, you can just quit and nobody's going to pick up this ball. So it was pretty heavy.
I think it's a pretty admirable thing that you have. Can you run us through how you were making the 50% saving, or not a guarantee, but the promise to up to 50% savings on people's roofs? Because obviously people have been paying high prices, and especially the last 5 or 10 years, prices have absolutely skyrocketed, and people are unsure of why. So if you could give your insight on that, that would be super beneficial, I think.
Yes. So a couple of things. One is every single market, every single city and state, I would say county, has a price leader. And that price leader just goes ahead and says, here's my profit margins, here's my SG&A, here's XY, here's my marketing and advertising, and I'm at a 20% budget. So my price needs to be here. And I'm on TV and radio and ballparks and you name it, right? And there's that. And then you have a remodeling magazine, which is throughout the US, and it's costversusvalue.com. And it will tell you, based on 30 squares in the Detroit market, it's averaging almost $1,100 a square. And so what happens is that a contractor takes that and they go sit down with you, Daniel, and they say, okay, great. And who am I? And I take pictures, and they go in to do the sales presentation, and they ask this one question, and then they shut up, because roofing is not roofing, it's sales. It's all sales. They spend millions of dollars teaching people the dynamics of the kitchen table and how to win customers. And they ask that one customer, they show the cost versus value, 30 squares, you're at 32 squares here. 30 squares is, 1,062. So your home is $33,000. But Daniel, how does that compare to the budget that you were looking to spend? And they shut up. Now the homeowner says, yeah, I knew it was going to be that expensive. Boom, they got it. I dropped $5,000 off your deal. Oh my God, you think I'm your best friend? And they've just made a killing. They ask those qualifying questions, and in roofing, they don't understand. Well, wait a minute, the market does say it's like 1,000 square, or my market is 892. But at that point, is if somebody else says, hey, this is 892, but it's not in this market, and you're going to get X, Y, and Z from me, and this is the reason why it's at their price justifying the quality of their work. And there's all these trainings on it. And I just said, man, it's just a sales show. It is just a sales show. And I'm like, that's just anyone who has gotten a roof from us in all these states that we're in now. It's just all about simplicity and transparency and ease. If you want those things, you go to the roofresource.com and you're going to get it. If you want traditional, which I say blockbuster, go traditional, go blockbuster. You want ease, simplicity, Netflix, come to the Roof Resource.
That's gold. That's gold. And you're at the moment, you're in, is it 5 or 6 states at the moment, or have you further expanded since that?
So we're Michigan, Ohio, Texas, Tennessee, Colorado, Idaho, Montana, and we just launched Philadelphia.
That is huge. So a quick question on obviously the kitchen table sales method that is sort of the roofing. Do you think a lot of fear behind people's purchasing the higher market value, or what their perceived higher market value is, because they're worried about the shoddy jobs that people hear about all the time? Do you think there's a bit of fear behind that for some people with not getting, as we spoke earlier about regulations and things like that. Some states you don't even need a license. Do you think that comes into play a little bit when it comes to clients choosing the more reputable brands, even though they're much higher in their quotes?
Yes, they want to see the license, they want to see the insurance, they want to see the workers' comp. They want to and they should be looking at that, but it all depends if that homeowner is really looking into that. Because I can tell you one thing, Daniel, it comes down to how does that person who comes into that house connect with that homeowner? And that homeowner in 5 minutes is basically saying, I don't like this guy or gal, or I do. And as you know, it's all about how do I build trust with this homeowner? Because if I build trust, then I build influence. And if I build influence, I can sell them. Because we Zoom everything. Everything is virtual. Everything is through Zoom. And so homeowners, when they welcome somebody in, my mind goes to the old vampire thing. You invite the vampire in, it's over, right? But they're still doing that. And because they don't know they don't know what they don't know. And you buy a roof once or twice in your lifetime. We see insurance now is changing the game, and insurance is sending out letters. And it's a much bigger discussion now about your roof. And homeowners just, where do I go for that resource? And they Google it.
Yes.
And that's what happens. And they don't understand Google, right? And it's the top companies that are making the 1,000 to 1,400 a square. They're dumping all the money in there. So their name pops up first. And they go, well, their name came up first. So Google must say that they're good.
Yeah. Who's spending the most on Meta at the moment? That's who you're going to see first.
Exactly. So homeowners don't see that.
Yeah. So, okay. You obviously run a very, very different business model, which is obviously in the virtual world. What do you use for your outreach? Do you use cold emails? Do you use Meta? What's your marketing strategy at the moment?
So we do have a digital partner that we had to go through, I would say many, because of that whole digital space. You don't know what you don't know, and you had to go through a lot of digital partners. I've got an SVP of marketing, and she kind of handles all of that now. The landscape is changing, as you know. I mean, if you're not in the AI world, I mean, you're getting left behind. And then there's a certain level of AI as well as the human touch. We've got call centers now that handle calls that come in. We do branding on Meta. We don't do acquisition on Meta because at the end of the day, people are not going to Meta to say, I need to get a roof. I'm going to go to Facebook. They're going to Google, and they're looking at Google My Business, or, they're wanting to see who's local and who's got that feel. And so we utilize that. And then I would say over 50%, Daniel, is boots on the ground. It's those, chamber events. It's door knocking, it's door tagging, it's signs, because at the end of the day, the consumer lives behind that door. That you can sit right through the noise and leave that tag and let them know, hey, we're here. Maybe not for tomorrow, but maybe next month or next year. This is where we're at. Or I don't need a roof, but you know what? My brother's mother's friend or whomever does. And we've had that happen. And we're saving them $5,000. And the money that we save, Daniel, one of the guys here said it. He goes, it's situational money. And I'm like, wow, that's a gem, because it's not like $500. We had an insurance company that we were piloting with, Farm Bureau, and one of their claims adjusters went to a customer's house on a completely different issue. It wasn't even the roof. Noticed a sign from a premier big roofing company here in the Detroit market. And said, how much are you paying for your roof? And she said, $28,000. And he said, you know what? I highly suggest you contact the roof resource. And she did. When we hear that, but that company will say, well, because I've got SG&A, I got marketing, I have salespeople, I've got my blockbuster, right? And I'm like, and she was 79 years old and doesn't know any better. And I'm like, put $15,000 in her pocket. I mean, 15 grand. I mean, so I hear about it all the time. And so that's part of my mission, is just you continue going and we continue the drive. So
yeah, they're not small numbers there either, which is insane. It actually reminds me of a very good friend of mine. He does a lot of insurance claim work, and he's same sort of thing. He met a lady that a storm ruined her roof, and she was just quoted $14,000, just about to start the roof, and it was $14,000 that she really didn't have. and he ended up getting it covered by insurance. And because he got it covered by insurance, it allowed that lady to go visit her family. I think her kids were in Finland. They were living in Finland. Just by saving her that little bit of money, like you are. It's not a couple of bucks here that you're saving people. It is huge, huge money, and it goes a long way for a lot of people.
Yeah, it does. And so we're having we're having a big impact now on the insurance world, because there was a customer that was at $47,000 up in Gaylord, Michigan. And the Farm Bureau said, hey, we'll get a quote from Roof Resource. And we were 17-1. And so all the storm chasing that goes on out there is up so high because there's the Exactimates and everyone knows the game to benchmark. And we're like, it's either the homeowners paying it or the insurance. We don't care. The price is the price. Yeah. And we're creating that simplicity and transparency. And really where we're at, Daniel, it's a volume play. I mean, we're not trying to find 500 roofs. Our goal is 50,000, 100,000 roofs, and really become that name of I have to get a roof. Let's go to the Roof Resource. I know it's going to be at the bottom. I know I'm going to get quality workmanship and quality materials.
That's perfect. That's perfect. So with all the new franchise locations that you are opening, how do you keep the experience consistent so people get the same Roof Resource everywhere?
So great question. And that's one of the things that I started working on in 2022, and that was a CRM. And that was, how do we create a systemized, uniform process so that it is the same for everyone? We have our own, we wireframed our own CRM. And so that CRM make certain that, hey, from the front end side, we've shared with them, we call training for trust, and that's that virtual experience. But then on the back end, it is, there's Job Nimbus, and there's all these ones that do all these drip campaigns to help you win. Back end is just tight and right from we've won the customer to an attic inspection that we provide from a third-party home inspection company that we're partnered with, to reviewing that attic inspection photos, to then picking out the material colors that they want. And it's step by step so that they find us in Idaho or Montana, it's going to be the same in Texas. It'll be the same in Ohio.
So systems. That is a huge one to take away, guys. Listen to that. Systems win. Systems are the best. Awesome. All right. So run me through that process from I call you up on the phone, or run the listeners through the process. They call you up on the phone to you saying, congratulations, we've just finished your roof.
Okay, great. So it starts with, go to the roofresearch.com, first, last name, email, phone. It goes into a core, and it goes into the CRM, and it says, hey, this is your franchise. And so franchisee calls them up. Hey, great, good, Daniel, you submitted your information. There's questions that we ask because people are always like, well, why don't you have to go out and this is a little, sidebar. Don't you have to go out and we're like, no, the homeowner already knows they need a new roof. Why do you need to go out there and be on the roof and walk around and go, yeah, you need a new roof, right? They need a new roof. It's like one of those obvious things, but people always,
my water's not working.
Right? Let me go out there and see if your water's working. Oh, you're right. It's not working. So they need a new roof. We ask them some question. What is their timeline? What's most important to them? What are they looking for? And then we take them through really high level. Well, this is what's going to happen with us. We're going to order their roof report. We're going to review that roof report with them. It's roofing technology. And then we're going to show them how those numbers move into their proposal. And we have a 7-page full color experience. We're taking you through this journey. We then will set up a Zoom with you, whatever's works for you the next day or two, because we can have their report done in 1 hour. In 1 hour, I'll know the numbers of your home down to the penny. And then we itemize it. So we charge a flat fee for our service. And then there's materials, labor, rent, and booster. All of those pieces line up. There's 4 of them, and it lines up to a price up to 50% less. It could be 47%, whatever that market is. But we've always told homeowners it's at the bottom. So then what we do is we get on a Zoom, we share that roof report. And it's like 7 pages of this is the squares on your home. This is the pitch of your home. These are the valleys, hip roof. It's a gable roof. We explain all of that. Wonderful. So now they see that we're just not Google Earthing their house and trying to get an idea, right? Then we show them their proposal, and we do something crazy. We lead with price, because that's the 800-pound elephant. Everybody wants to know, like, how much is that? Like, your address?
Just tear the Band-Aid off.
Here you go. And here's your price. It's like, oh my God, really? And then we've itemized it. So we let them see this goes to materials. There's no markup. This goes to labor. There's no markup. This is the dumpster. There's no markup. A flat fee for this project is about $1,800, and they see that. And then at that point, we share with them, hey, we're going to have a third-party home inspection company come out and check the attic for your intake ventilation, your exhaust, and check the OSB decking, make certain that bath fans or kitchen vents are vented out properly. If not, we've already included that in your proposal. We get all the pictures, we show that to the homeowner, and then we let them know that then they get to pick from all these top brands, all class 3 full roofing systems. And then we educate them on it's not a GAF known for shadow or an Owens Corning Oak Ridge and then generic underneath everything. So now you have limited warranties. You don't have system warranties. So we take them through that. They get their choice. And really the homeowners love that they now can beautify their home. Because for instance, if you have a solid structure like the place behind you, when you've got a solid brick color and something around the window, you can do multicolored dimensional up on the roof. Most of these homeowners don't even see half the brands that we offer them. And the price doesn't change. It doesn't go, oh, Certainty Landmark Pro. Well, you got to spend a little bit more here. Or now you got to spend a little, get your choice. And then we let them know we'll have it done in 7 to 10 days. So once they pay our fee, attic inspection happens typically within 48 to 72 hours. They're picking their shingle color and then they're picking installation.
So on average, from first reach to finished handover, what is your average time?
7 to 10 days, and that's if they follow our cadence. We just had a AAA customer come in. They came in on a Monday, paid the fee. The following Wednesday, that was the day they were installed. And when we install it, we're taking pre, during, and after photographs so that the homeowner can see what's going on up on their roof, because obviously they're not going up there. They get to see the starter, the ice and water shield, the synthetic. They get to see that whole process. And that's part of the whole experience with us.
So this is something I actually do want to touch on, and I'd love to get your input on it as well. But one thing you mentioned that you're in contact with them the whole time, and I think that's something that a lot of new business owners coming into the construction trade could really learn from. Like you want to be oversharing every single step of the way. You want to be making them feel a part of it, because at the end of the day, when they feel a part of it, they're going to be a lot, if something does go awry or anything like that, don't be trying to hide the fact that things have gone awry. Be upfront with them and take them on the journey with them and include them as much as possibly as you humanly possibly can, just to, make that client feel special, make that client, and that in turn will get some repeat business. And like you're growing at an exponential rate right now. And how much of that would you attribute to the way you run your jobs?
The way that we run it is, well, I would say for the people that became owners, they identified with really the mission and the purpose and the humanitarian effect that we're kind of having in those markets. But it was all about process. It was really all about the process and the experience for the homeowner. And we always say that the homeowner has a seat at the table with us. And everyone else will say, oh, yeah, they do with us too. But at the end of the day, our homeowners had said, wow, this is great. I'd loved kind of getting to know a little bit. I've shared with SRS, the owner, Dan Tinker, as I said, we can actually make your distribution centers stores. Homeowners have no idea that they can come in there and shop. We promote that and say, hey, you want to see the shingle? Go shop, go inside. And they're like, really? I could go in there?
That's awesome.
But it is that experience that the homeowner, being part of it, and now they get to know a little bit more. And we've educated them, and I've had, the staff and franchisees say, the feedback is homeowners are like, this is the best presentation I've ever had. And that just, that hits home.
Perfect. I'm going to borrow your line that you said earlier, but if you did have a magic wand and automate one part of your business, what would save you the most money or time?
What would save us the most amount of time is I would say that our platform now is really like plugging into something grander. I'm always thinking of the Amazon experience, and and we have to balance this, Dan. So it's one of those requests that you want to ask for, but you don't, because it's just like you want to be ready for that. The ultimate experience for us is an Amazon experience, is being able to have this. But we also have to keep the costs the way that we keep them. We have to keep them so low. We have to really watch our go-to-market. how do we do that in a way that we keep everything so low for that homeowner? But for us at this point, it's really about it's getting people out there. It's doing podcasts. It's letting people know what we do, how we do it. But as you know, the more important is why we do what we do and why we exist.
Yep. Perfect. So what's the number one personal check that you would do to check the health of your business? Would it be close rates? Would it be like what would be that? Yeah.
And so we actually just did that, and we just signed with another partner, because when we take a look at the customer experience from when they become on entry form, and that means they're knocking on our door, there's a need, and what's that follow through rate? How do we get in contact with them? What's that experience like? And we just went ahead and had a big eye opener last month and said, whoa. Like, hey, we've got great experiences and there's a lot of assumptions, but at the end of the day, life's busy. And we just went ahead and said, hey, for the health of the business, we don't want to leave all this opportunity out there. And we had to make some changes. And that's something that me and the team were always looking at. But I will tell you, that was one of those, we were just like, wow, like there's an assumption that we're doing these things. It goes back to controlling business, right? You want to give control to owners. And you want to say, hey, Daniel's going to just rip the cover off them. He's going to do all of this. At the end of the day, we don't know someone's coffee or tea or goes out. You know what I mean? You're an owner. I've got so many friends in the real estate business that say people want to get into real estate because they want to own their own deal, but then they feel like they got all this autonomy to kind of go do whatever, right? And it's the same thing here. I mean, so it's really about how do we pull this back in and help the businesses grow and help us grow.
Yeah. So what's next for 2025 and beyond? New markets, new tech, like what's your goal forward?
So we are actually pivoting over to licensing. So 2 years ago, when I started this, we did not have our CRM or core, which we call core. We didn't have that. We didn't have the brand assets. We didn't have the Bible. We didn't have our PRN network the way it is now. We didn't have those things. You need those things to be able to license the business. So we had to do the franchise model. And so the franchise model, as you know, has a lot more restrictions and gates and things of that nature. And so we are going to license the business, which will really open this up for the contracting world, because now the benchmark is there. But as you know, every business needs that system and uniformity. And when you can tap into that network, in addition to other just entrepreneurs that have other types of businesses that they can bolt this onto, we feel that that is going to be a big game changer for massive growth in 2026.
I'm hearing huge nationwide growth. Do you have a goal in mind of X, or it's just setting up the systems to allow you to grow to be completely nationwide?
It will be nationwide. We know that right now in the next 6 months, we'll have a number of about 100 licenses out there. It works that we have to grow, because it's not only just the 100 licenses, Dan, it's also about the corporate growth, because we get calls today. We had a customer call us from Hobart, Indiana. We're not even in Indiana from a franchise perspective, but corporate, we own everything. We own every state. And so we were like, great. And so we were able to get our network down there and create the experience. And homeowner got installed about 3 weeks ago and loved the experience. And, so that's that Netflix, Amazon experience where we can pretty much do this anywhere. So that's the exciting piece for me that, keeps me in the driver's seat.
Nice. All right. So for homeowners listening, what's one myth about roofers they should ignore, and one smart question they should always ask?
The myth is the price. That's just always going to be a made-up price for whatever that roofer is. But one of the things that they should always be asking them, and I say this now, is when they do come in to the home, get a price within 5 minutes. And if they don't want to give you a price within 5 minutes, know that they're going to play the pricing game. But if you've made it past that point, double check their license to make certain that they are licensed in roofing. We have found companies that are licensed, and we look up the license and they have a carpenter's license. And as you know, Daniel, that's not a roofing license.
No, I'm not going around doing roofers.
And so, their insurance is not, it's not type of insurance either. And so, but homeowners think that, hey, someone pulls up and they've got a truck that's, brand new roofing. And so, but you check those things at the end of the day in this community, that people just feel comfortable with someone. And we always say, Dan, is that we're not here to sell you a roof. We're here to provide you the service. If you're uncertain, you're not sure, go to theroofresource.com. I don't care where you live. We'll have a proposal ready for you within 24 hours and we'll share you the numbers. And you'll get to see what those true numbers are.
Nice. All right. Well, if someone wants to learn more, whether it's a homeowner, a franchise partner, where should they go?
And that would be to theroofresource.com.
Awesome. And look, you got the next 30, 40 seconds. Give yourself a bit of a plug. Tell the audience what's going on. Yeah, the floor's yours.
3 to 6 months, we'll have pivoted over to licensing. Next year, we will be looking into the Windows world. So we'll be looking to offer high quality Windows for the same type of process, removing all of the frustration and headache. And that'll then introduce siding in 2027. So our model is created so that we just create simplicity in the world of construction.
Nice. Well, guys, keep your ears and eyes out because I think roof restorations are going to be a household name in the next few years. Look, head over, check out the website, hit him up. He's an absolute pleasure to chat with and a wealth of knowledge. So thank you very much for joining the podcast, guys. Please like, share, and subscribe and have a massive, massive, wonderful day. See you guys.